You're listening to China Africa Talk.
Jambo, ni Bridget akikuletea kipindi kinachohusiana na China na Afrika.
Vous écoutez le dialogue sino-africain avec Bridget.
Everything China, everything Africa.
Olá, você está ouvindo China Africa Talk com Bridget.
سيداتي وسادتي مرحبا بكم في الحوار الصيني العربي مع بريدجيت.
Hello and welcome to this special series of China Africa Talk, where we bring you a 6-episode feature together forward to mark the 25th anniversary of FOCAC, the Forum on China-Africa Cooperation. I'm Bridget Mutambirwa. In this special feature, we meet the people at the heart of China-Africa ties, showing how FOCAC's vision is shaping lives and futures. Where do your impressions of China and Africa come from? A Chinese director has spent over a decade documenting China-Africa stories using his camera to build bridges of understanding. This is the story of his journey.
There's a popular saying among Chinese people who've spent time in Africa. You fear Africa before you go, you love it while you're there, you miss it after you leave.
我们这个团队呢，就是一直做非洲影视交流，致力于用影像推动中非之间的了解。
Zhang Yong is one of them. His African journey began in 2012 during his PhD studies in film and media.
当时的话，大部分选题其实还是倾向于西方大国的。
Back then, most academic research focused on Western cinema, Hollywood, Europe, even Asia and the Middle East. But no one had done a comprehensive thesis on African film. I thought, why not be a pioneer? So I reached out to experts, including a Nigerian professor in the US, and began field work. Soon I was meeting African directors, attending film festivals, and in 2014 I went to South Africa to assist on a documentary about Chinese communities. That laid the foundation for what became the first doctoral dissertation in China on African cinema. It's still one of my proudest achievements.
所以这也是我个人觉得比较得意的一件事情吧。
That research opened the door for Zhang to make his own China-Africa documentaries. For him, documentaries are more than art. They are a tool for bridging mutual understanding.
我最早做中非纪录片，其实是从研究出发的。
My interest in China-Africa documentaries began with my research, but I realized academic writing alone wasn't enough. Very few Chinese productions about Africa resonated with African audiences, and even fewer were widely shared. Since our field is practice-oriented, I thought, why not pick up the cinema myself? That's how I started documenting the many details and faces of China-Africa exchanges.
So guys, these ones are bulls. Big animals, we call them bulls.
In 2014, Zhang Yong took his first steps in Africa, assisting South African director Faik Dyer on Isolation to Integration, a doc film about the history of the Chinese in South Africa. A year later, he launched his own project, Africans in Yiwu. He started with a one-person team with only one camera.
刚开始的时候，起步还是比较艰难的嘛，完全是要靠一腔热血。
When I first started, it was tough. I had no stable team, just one camera and a lot of passion. Africans in Yiwu has many single camera shots that I filmed myself, including interviews with Somalia's ambassador to China, Hodan. Things are more professional now, with multiple cameras, but back then it was pure determination.
起步的时候啊，万事开头难啊，就是确实是要有热情。
我叫何丹，来自索马里。2005年9月来到中国，学习本科、硕士以及博士。
For Africans in Yiwu, Zhang teamed up with Holdan Osman Abdi, now Somalia's ambassador to China, then a PhD candidate.
Africans in Yiwu was truly my first deep collaboration with an African director. At the time, Holdan was still a PhD candidate at Zhejiang University, and neither of us had much practical filming experience. Our background was more in film theory, so the project became a process of exploration and mutual learning. From her, I learned how to better understand Africans, their sense of time, their cultural aspirations, and how they adapt to life in China. She was constantly working with us to find common ground. I came to realize that documentary filmmaking itself is a continuous process of learning. Whenever you take on a subject, you need to become familiar with that field. For example, when studying Africans in Yiwu, we also compared their experiences with those in Shanghai, Wenzhou, Beijing, or Guangzhou. Even though many were engaged in business, the nature of their work and lives varied from city to city. At that time, I had only been to South Africa and knew little about other African countries. Even my co-director Holdan was from Somalia, but I had never been to her country. We often joked about that. Yet through the filming process, following her lead, we met more Africans and gained a deeper understanding of the cultural diversity across African nations. Looking back, I learned so much from that collaboration. And I'm especially proud today that Holdan is now Somalia's ambassador to China. It feels incredible to say that our little documentary team produced an ambassador, something that makes me very proud.
For Holdan Abdi, that co-production, which started as a small project, grew into something larger.
I think we need to go back to actually late 2015 when we met at an academic conference, Zhang and I. We were both doing our PhDs and we were doing research on African film and TV. So we found ourselves in the same circle and we just started talking. And through our chats, we started talking about how there's a lot of misrepresentation of the presence of the African community and the African people here in China, especially in a lot of documentary films that were out at the time, that were mostly trying to portray a very negative image with regards to the experiences of the African community in China. So we were just going back and forth and we had so many different ideas, and then Zhang came up with the idea saying, oh, why don't we start with your story? Can we start filming your story? What's your experience in China like? And then it was very close to the time of my graduation. I was graduating from my PhD at the time. So Zhang took a train and came all the way to Hangzhou and brought this camera. It was just him and myself with no film crew. And we just started talking. We started filming while I was driving, filming while I was changing, filming while I was reciting and getting ready for my graduation speech. So then after a while, we found that the story came out pretty well, but it would stand out better if it was in the middle of a bigger context of different characters and different experiences and different views from different people. We ended up working in the same institute, the Institute of African Studies at Zhejiang University. Mm-hmm. So after graduation, I joined the institute, and so did Zhang Yong. So during our work there, we were very fortunate enough to find support to film a longer series. And we decided to follow the lives of 21 African individuals who were at the time living in Yiwu. By following their lives and just filming different occasions, different contexts of their daily lives throughout a period of a year and a half, we ended up with Africans in Yiwu the way that you see it now, portraying these characters and sharing a deeper story about what it actually feels like to be an African coming to China for the first time, different language, different culture, but still managing to find life, love, work, and deeper meaning.
Hodan Abdi is encouraging more people to join Zhang Yong to bring people's hearts together.
I think we need more people like him. He's extremely passionate. He's my former colleague. I worked very closely with him. His passion is at times annoying, to be very honest, but at the same time it is also very, very inspiring to see somebody who's very young, who has set a direction for his life and has never thought to look elsewhere or veer away. He's been very dedicated, he's been very passionate, and he really wants to bring the people of China and Africa closer together through the lens of a camera. And I hope that a lot of people will be inspired by him, his passion, his work, his dedication, his work ethic. And we will see more works that bring our hearts together.
Since Africans in Yiwu, Zhang has produced another 4 China-Africa documentaries, including Chinese Meet Africa, Generation Z's China-Africa Stories, China-Africa Factory, and Tazara, A Journey Without an End. The Tazara Railway is a landmark of China-Africa cooperation. For many Chinese, even if they haven't been to Africa, they've heard of Tazara. Built in the 1970s, Tazara is China's very first foreign aid project. Stretching 1,860 kilometers from Dar es Salaam in Tanzania to New Kapiri Mposhi in Zambia, the railway has been playing a key role in the economic and social development of the two countries and beyond. That's why it's affectionately known as the Uhuru Railway or Independent Railway. But Western media often distort its story. Zhang was motivated to show what's really going on the ground.
I noticed that the BBC made a documentary about the Tazara Railway. After watching it, I was deeply struck. It portrayed the very first foreign aid project of New China as being in such a dilapidated condition. But when I actually traveled along the Tazara, I discovered reality was not like that at all. The trains were still running twice a week. And for many commuters in Dar es Salaam suburbs, it remained an important means of transport. So why did the BBC only show desolation and decay? Why was the true situation concealed? To me, documentaries shouldn't be made that way. From what I learned in film studies, a documentary must be fair, objective and diverse in perspective. Yet I felt the BBC had imposed a preset theme and completely smeared the railway. That's why I decided to start again. I wanted to present it from a more diverse point of view. So besides myself, we invited a foreign co-director, a Danish scholar, to join the project. Through his eyes, we traveled the length of the Tazara, experiencing its present condition, the local scenery, and interviewing people along the way about what the railway means to them. I believe a film made this way, with a more international perspective, can truly resonate and spread globally.
We all wanted to see a better Africa. We all want to see a free Africa. We all want to see an end to colonialism. The Chinese government, the Chinese people, committed themselves in words and in deed and in action.
Zhang Yong's efforts paid off. His documentary resonated with audiences.
后来我们在非洲10个国家，甚至在西方的一些国家都能够
Our documentary was broadcast in 10 African countries and even in some Western nations. I remember in Tanzania, it reached a peak rating of 5.93, which is remarkably high. Usually, breaking past 1 is considered very good, so surpassing 5 was an unexpected surprise. It showed that local audiences truly appreciated the film. It also proved that African viewers want to see works that present history and current realities in a fair and diverse way, works that show the real picture of China-Africa cooperation. As scholars, I believe in telling real stories, not stereotypes, not slogans, but authentic lives and events.
这个可以的吧？这不是真的挺好的吗？这里再加一个东方红进去啊。老师，刚刚那个就是我用这个 P 上去的。P 上去。
Beyond making documentaries, Zhang Yong is a PhD supervisor at Zhejiang University, one of China's top education institutions. For Zhang, nurturing the next generation of China-Africa storytellers is very important.
我觉得作为一个老师哈，我是特别期待我的学生辈啊，能够不断的推陈出新。
As a teacher, I encourage my students to explore Africa through film and media. Several have already graduated with PhDs and are now working in universities or related fields in society. I believe a teacher's primary goal is to cultivate talent. Relying solely on my own efforts is certainly not enough. Currently, there's still a limited pool of talent in China focused on China-African film, media and communication. That's why I hope more people will join this field. After all, many hands make light work. Given the richness of China-African stories, why not invest some time and energy to explore them? You might just discover a treasure trove. The younger generations to come are undoubtedly the hope for deeper China-African collaboration.
Zhang's PhD candidate Xia Yiwen recalls how her very first assignment was to draw a proper map of Africa, a task that laid the groundwork for her later research.
The very first task Professor Zhang gave me was to learn how to draw a map of Africa. It took me nearly a week to memorize it. Eventually, I could sketch it from memory and I knew which countries were in North Africa, East Africa and West Africa, along with their economic conditions, climates and geographical locations. I even came to understand what the island of Madagascar actually looks like. That exercise gave me a basic but essential foundation to start understanding Africa's geography, culture and economy. It laid the groundwork for my research. Now my main focus is on post-colonial African cinema, which involves a lot of historical study as well. Professor Zhang, on the other hand, is particularly strong in China-Africa media and international communication. So under his broader framework and encouragement, I've been able to pursue my own branch of research.
Another of Zhang's students, Abu Bakr Hayati from Sudan, says he's discovering more about his own continent through the guidance of his Chinese professor.
I'm taking him as also old brother because the thing that really I learned from him, I'm African. I learned too many stuff really from him. He talk about the culture, he talk about too many sensitive stuff. For example, in some countries, I don't know about it. I came from Sudan. I just I'm more focused about North African countries. But for me, maybe this will be shocked for you also. The first time I hear Tinga Tinga from him. Can you imagine? And I'm that in Tanzania, and I'm from Sudan. I hear Tinga Tinga just from him the first time. And even I immerse myself with the African group and African friend after I know him through his documentaries. So then I start know and my mind start really raise and open about really how is the African society and the African culture.
Zhang Yong's vision is aligned with Zhejiang University's global talent initiatives. Zhu Hui is the deputy party secretary of Zhejiang University.
我们大概差不多是2018年左右， Since 2018, our university has established 54 overseas practice projects across 21 Belt and Road countries, many in Africa. Every year, nearly 100 graduate students participate, engaging in education, technology, engineering, and cultural exchanges. We have exchange programs with African countries, such as South Africa and Morocco, and we are expanding the exchanges to countries such as Ghana, Nigeria, Algeria, and Mauritius.
范围拓展以后，我们还有比如说加纳、尼日利亚、阿尔及利亚以及毛里求斯等非洲国家，我们也都有涉及。
这里这趴是丹尼尔第一次画画。
Zhang is now working on 2 more documentaries. His goal, 10 China-Africa documentaries by age 45.
我个人有一个小小的理想，
I have a small dream. Before turning 45, I want to make 10 China-Africa documentaries. I've been working on my 6th and 7th. In the next 6 years, I will complete the last 3 with as much collaboration as possible.
China has established strategic partnerships with all African countries that maintain diplomatic ties, elevating their relations to an all-weather China-Africa community with a shared future for a new era. Amid this growing momentum of cooperation, 38-year-old Zhang Yong is dedicated to doing his part, using his camera to document exchanges and tell the stories of ordinary people whose lives reflect this partnership.
我们的中非合作是落实到具体的人、具体的故事。
Our cooperation between China and Africa is rooted in specific people, real stories, and concrete events. To me, history is essentially the collection of these individual stories. As a documentary filmmaker and scholar, I want to use my skills and my lens to capture this part of history. I believe these efforts will hold lasting value in the future.
And for many Chinese devoted to China-Africa friendship, Zhang Yong included, there comes a realization that their understanding of the continent remains limited. That humility, deepening with time, brings with it a renewed urgency to keep learning and engaging for the years ahead.
Looking back, I have traveled to more than a dozen African countries. But my understanding of Africa is still limited. Now I feel a greater urgency. Can I visit all African nations before I retire? Can I revisit the key ones more often? When I was younger, I thought going once meant I understood. Now I know what I don't know. That makes me even more anxious. With the limited time and energy I have, I want to spend more time walking the African continent, writing my research directly onto the land of China-Africa exchanges.
A key outcome of the 2024 Forum on China-Africa Cooperation Summit in Beijing is the implementation of the Partnership Initiative for People-to-People Exchanges, spanning 2025 to 2027. Under this initiative, China will launch 10 dedicated people-to-people exchange programs and collaborate with African nations to advance the China-Africa Cultural Silk Road project. Specific measures include inviting 1,000 African professionals from the culture and tourism sectors to China for training and executing a cooperation plan for innovation in radio, television, and audiovisual media. Furthermore, 2026 has been designated the Year of China-Africa People-to-People Exchanges. As interactions between the two sides continue to grow, more individuals like Zhang Yong will undoubtedly emerge, dedicating themselves to fostering mutual understanding and strengthening the time-honored friendship between China and Africa.
On the 25th anniversary of FOCAC, the Forum on China-Africa Cooperation, CGTN Radio presents a special feature series, Together Forward, showcasing the breadth and depth of the China-Africa partnership. Clean water projects in Zimbabwe, new classrooms in Botswana, grain innovation in Kenya, agricultural training in Handan, vibrant trade in Yiwu,
Scene 14, take one,
and a documentary producer's journey in Hangzhou.
Action.
These are the stories that bring this partnership to life.
We have trained a group of high-quality talents in Africa who understand agriculture, love rural areas, and care for farmers.
And this bore drilling program will go a long way in addressing this critical need.
All the world, I never see one country like China, especially like you.
So this becomes more productive, cost-effective, and more reliable.
I have a small dream. Before turning 45, I want to make 10 China-Africa documentaries.
The school is beautiful, and like I'm saying, everybody wants the airliners to be here.
Join us in celebrating 25 years of FOCAC. Stay tuned with China-Africa Talk and discover the real impact of China-Africa cooperation and how we're moving forward together.